three. We are live.
All
Good
right.
afternoon, Crystal. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good. And yourself?
I am doing great. Doing
Uh,
great. I hit a button by mistake, and so I'm just making sure that things are still happening.
it appears like we're live, at least up at the top
Okay,
there. It
things are
seems like
still
we're
happening.
live.
These buttons. I am super stoked about the broadcast we have today. Uh, lots of times we stay away from, and I don't know why we stay away from asset classes, but we're going to jump right into one and
Okay.
talk about the difference between inside and outside and of a qualified plan and how to use this, and we're just going to talk about this asset class. It's real estate. You're into real estate? You
Well, my sister's a real estate agent and
yeah. So
a
so
broker,
you know.
actually. She's a broker.
Okay, cool. So you know how lucrative it can be. So how
hmm
about this? I will read your bio. Got it right here.
Okay. All
And
right.
even though I have friends of mine that says I should recite your bio, but I have problems reciting my name sometimes. So I'm reading your bio, and and, um, and then let's jump on in.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Please welcome my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions, co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, another weekly online radio show, that other radio show. She's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College and a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor. And with all of that, she's also a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? I'm good. And you?
I am doing great. I really, really am. And I'm just pleased as punch that I got to be able to say QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist
I know it can be a
without,
mouthful, huh?
right, without messing that up. Okay, so we're going to talk about real estate. Tell me, how
Oh,
do you feel about it?
well, in the state of California, real estate is the probably the biggest commodity that is out here with the cost of everything, and so it's a pretty important investment for people. Yeah, obviously, it was at one point the American dream, and of course, that's escaped a lot of people because of the cost of being able to purchase a home in certain areas like ours. Uh, Up until recently, we didn't. There was no more land to be able to purchase. So therefore, it was that's really what the problem is in the state of California or in Los Angeles County is that all the land had been pretty much used
Uh-huh.
and had a building on it. And so, as you can see, there's not a lot of housing coming up. And that's been some of my questions is how come we can't have a combination of both, right? Homes to purchase and as well as rental properties on these big spaces that they're sticking big units, rental units in. So, um, but it should be all of us should have that opportunity. That's what we work hard for, right? So real estate is very, very important.
I think you're right. I think you're right, and I think you're knocking on the door of when you're talking about running a city and people having opportunity to make their lives better. That's another word for money in motion, and money in motion is a good thing if you learn. I mean, if you remember that basic economics 101, when we talk
hmm
about the money supply, we talk about money one, two, and three. And often money, if I'm not wrong, one of those categories is actually money that's moving throughout a neighborhood, right?
Right.
And the availability of cash can be increased dramatically if the money is moving through the neighborhood, right? And that's a really
Exactly. And the turnover. So when you look at real estate, this is how I look at it, and how I grew up is when we're living in homes, in our family, and then the kids go off to college, go to school. Some come back, some do not come back. But even if they come back, I moved out of my parents' house, my mom's house, when I was 19 years old, and I was
Mhm.
able to rent an apartment, right? And then that means that a lot of these families could downsize and be able to buy a townhouse or a condo because of the availability, right? And then they don't have to maintain a large house. So what does that do? When married couples get married and have families, now they can purchase the home so that they can raise their kids, and it's a cycle, right? And so you do need the all of the components. You do need the rental. You do need the houses, standalone houses, and townhouse and condos, because that's what usually the younger population can afford, and then they can sell that, and then or lease it or whatever they want to do, and then buy the family home. So that's supposed to be how that's how it has worked in the past. Let me put it that way.
That is interesting. And I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember when people used to buy a home and they would stay in it for 30 years, right? This
Hmm.
concept of buying a home, flipping it, as it were, or buying a home and then going to a new home and then going to a new home every 4 to 5 years is newer on the scene. And
Yes.
I used to poo poo that because you stick with how you grew up. But I see where you're coming from now. I definitely see how putting a home in the market or a living space in the market is just another facet of money moving, and that's a good thing for neighborhoods. And we could talk
Exactly.
about this forever, but it's not what I was
Okay.
thinking we were going to talk
Well, let's
about.
talk about it in the aspect of retirement plans.
There you go. Um, I totally agree with you that real estate is a worthwhile and awesome investment to have. And I definitely think people should put it inside their retirement portfolio. And hopefully, I've suggested to you that there is inside your retirement plan portfolio can be things inside your qualified plan that is a benefit of your employer, and then things
Hmm.
that are outside of your qualified plan that are not benefits of your employer. And
Hmm.
we would do well to understand both of those and to make sure that both of those are going, both of those are working out for us. And I think that's one of the issues that we have with so many things in our life. We think about the government, we think about investing, we think about relationships between men and women and all sorts of things. And we make them monolithic. We make them
Hmm.
one thing, and they're not, they're complex. And
Hmm.
it's a good thing that they're complex because that gives us all the opportunity to let them fit into our lives the way that our lives go. And it gives us choice. Right? We
Right.
don't have to do things the way everybody else does. Well, real estate is very much in one of those types of categories. It's an asset class that I think is amazing from the point of view of a retirement plan advisor because it doesn't behave like other asset classes. It's not just stocks, it's not just bonds. It's sort of a combination of that. It goes up and down based on interest rates, which don't
Hmm.
always go up and down based on supply and demand. So there's a lot of really cool things going on when we consider real estate. And I would say, even though I wasn't born back then, I haven't studied it, but I would say that it's even more fascinating now than it was 45, 60 years ago.
Mm.
Right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I wouldn't say often, but often I would get asked, at least in the past, can I put my real estate inside my 401k? Or can I
Okay.
put my real estate inside my pension plan? Okay. And bad idea, good idea. Let's put it good idea, very, very tough to do. Very tough to do. Unless if you have a 401k plan, you can establish a self directed brokerage account and then you can buy real estate in that self directed brokerage account. But if you just
Mm.
have a quote unquote pension plan that you're running, it's very difficult, if not impossible, because most of them um, do not allow real estate as pure form, in its pure form. That is, you go out and buy a house, you go out and buy an apartment complex. They don't allow that asset class in the portfolio.
Oh,
They
okay.
do allow real estate investing. So, should you have investments in real estate? And it's going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm not. So, try not to. So, should you have mutual funds that invest in companies that do real estate, like real estate investment trusts, like a company that invests in that in those corner stores at the shopping mall, right?
Right.
Or companies that invest in apartment complexes, or
Right.
companies that invest in whatever kinds of real estate. Great idea, great way to diversify. And if it's under the purview or the guise of a mutual fund, excellent idea, stick it in there. In fact, I have recommended that people invest part of their savings inside some type of real estate investment trust, a REIT, or some type of real estate fund as a way to diversify their portfolios. It's a great idea. So, what about those guys that have a pension? Has the word pension in it. That is, these are the folks that run pensions. Tough for them to buy a piece of land, put a apartment complex on it, charge rent, make the payments. It's very tough for them to do that. It's very tough for people to become beneficial owners of real estate inside a pension.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's say you have a 401k plan. Let's say you're the owner of a 401k plan. You're the plan sponsor of a 401k plan, and you want to make that piece of real estate that you have available to all of your participants. Tough to allow them to buy shares of that to become beneficial owners. It's very difficult to do, and it's so tough that I don't even want to talk about it. It's so tough. Don't do that, right?
So you don't even want to talk about that.
About it.
Okay.
But what I would say is that if you are someone in a company and you've got your own self-directed brokerage account, that is, you have your mutual funds that you invest in, and then you have a relationship with some type of investment house. I'd say who they are right now, but they're not paying me, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
So, if you had a relationship with an investment house that took money out of your 401k plan and you were able to invest that in a way that you want, again, self-directed brokerage account,
Mm-hmm.
and you were to use that money to put that money to buy an apartment complex or to buy a piece of real estate or a house or something, if you were able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then of course all the rents that were collected, all the payments that were made, whatever those were, those could be, that growth, let's call it that growth could be tax deferred because it is under the guise of your 401k plan. Or I would say even better yet, if you were to do that inside your IRA and you were to make that arrangement, that self-directed brokerage account, and there are other words for it, but I'm going to call it SDBA, the self-directed brokerage account. Then you could buy that piece of real estate or that complex, if you could do it inside that relationship and underneath the purview of that self-directed account, then by all means, do your thing. That works out very, very well. There's a couple of things going on there. That's just one person with their own account buying money for themselves, buying something for themselves. That's not a plan sponsor saying this is a great investment for everyone here, because it's not.
Right.
Right. For so many people, that's just too much volatility.
Right. Exactly.
That's just not a good thing. And I want to talk.
I would imagine. I'm sorry, and I would imagine a pension. I mean, because those are funds that are monitored by an outside entity, right? I mean, if there's a mutual fund, right? So across the board, it's not one person managing that asset, which would be your home, right? I mean, you're managing that asset basically. And so if you default on your home, not through any causes of your own, but it could be, then that could be a major deficit, wouldn't it?
Could be a huge issue when you're dealing with other people's money.
Okay.
And that's the issue. So many folks they think when that the rules that we have are so that the government can get in and take your money. When in actuality, it's the Department of Labor and the IRS trying to protect people who don't really understand what's going on and make sure they don't get surprises like, oh, we valued this real estate at X, which means that your portion of it is Y. Oh, you know what? We had to sell that, so you no longer have that asset. And then, of course, the person who doesn't really know what's happening gets to say the famous "yeah, but." Well, the "yeah, buts" don't work, right? I mean, you find yourself in that position of "yeah, but." No, that's not going to work very well for you. It's not going to work. So,
yeah. Should
you have real estate as a portion of your retirement plan portfolio? Absolutely. Absolutely. If it's especially outside your retirement plan and you like to deal with rent, you like the idea of taking care of business, you're the kind of person, I am not, but if you're the kind of person that likes to go and repair someone's toilet or can take care of someone's cabinets or can do, like, for example, in my apartment here, I asked the manager to come and put up the weather stripping around the front door. That's the kind of thing that you like to do. You're a really handy kind of person, or you have a spouse or partner who's a handy kind of person. By all means,
right,
get your real estate as a portion of your retirement portfolio and look at it that way, and get yourself a really good accountant and make it work. I think it's a great idea. Great idea. If you are one of those folks that's fortunate enough to have a self-directed brokerage account and you have a small firm and you have a hunk of real estate or something that you want to buy, and it's just you buying it for yourself in your particular self-directed brokerage account, and you like the idea of that kind of investment because of the growth and the diversification, absolutely go do your thing. Do your thing. If you are a plan sponsor and you want to take the assets of all 50 of the people that work for you and you want to buy some real estate so that they collectively own it and stick that into the retirement plan, whoa, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't turn these owners into real estate tycoons. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to have it evaluated every year. If somebody wants to leave, then you've got to do some type of evaluation / sell, or they've got to buy them out. And now you're really getting into some ugly pieces of managing other people's money, which is anathema to how the 401k thing was set up in the first place, right? The 401k was set up so that people could direct their assets to a place in the market, can learn about the market, and let the market grow. On their behalf. It wasn't a place where someone could take their money and invest it in something that, although we shouldn't use that word speculative with real estate, but something that's not easily quantifiable. It's not easily, made that way, made nice and easy.
Right.
So don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay. Yeah. I guess, like you said, if it was investment property, because you think about that differently, right? Because you're actually, it's just like any other investment or stock or whatever. If it doesn't look like it's being beneficial or profitable for you, then what do? You start to you look at selling that stock, right? So if it was investment property, that's one thing. But your home, first of all, there's a personal, emotional attachment to one's home.
Yeah. Well, anybody that puts their home in a retirement plan that's wacky. Stop that. Don't do that. Just stop. Don't do that. You start thinking, well, I get these tax advantages. Just stop.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just can't, because it is what it is. But an
On this show, we're
investment.
talking about investing inside a qualified plan, which is a benefit that you receive from your employer because you happen to work there. That's what we're
Hmm.
talking about now. Outside of
Right.
that, great strategy, perhaps. Do a little razzle dazzle, could work, not
Hmm.
the purview of this thing we're doing here.
Right.
Do that
Exactly.
somewhere. I mean,
Okay.
I'll let you know right here and now that, and I think it's important that I say this. When we talk about things that happen inside a qualified plan, they're inside the qualified plan. That doesn't mean they're not a good strategy outside the qualified plan.
Mm.
But inside the qualified plan, there things are different. And people will say, "Well, how am I supposed to know?" Because I'm telling you, they're inside the retirement plan, right? Outside the retirement plan, very different. Could
Right.
be a good strategy
Right.
outside the plan.
Right.
Inside the plan, not a good strategy.
Okay.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
That makes sense. I mean, because it's got a it's there for a specific purpose of being when you retire, to make sure you have what you need for retirement purposes. And so, if you are utilizing um, assets that could be a little bit more volatile, then the plan may not work the way you want it to work.
Exactly. There's
Hmm.
the expression, when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail, right?
Right.
So someone would quite easily say, and I can see it. Well, I've got this X amount of dollars in my plan. How come I can't use that and do something with it?
Hmm.
Because it's in your plan,
Yeah.
right? You know, if you have a if you have a if you have a two-seater car and you all of a sudden want to ride around with you and your spouse or whoever, that's great. You put 8 or 9 more people in the car, you have an issue.
Yeah.
It's not, or you go camping in that car, you may have an issue, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you may. So makes sense to me. I mean, because again, you that's what we've always talked about, is that this is something for 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years possibly, down the line, where we have no idea what may happen. And so you want to make sure that you just want to make sure that you're planning for your future, and as you were saying, being conservative as possible, but at the same time being able to generate what you need to have when you need it at a later
yeah,
date.
yeah, and I think you're knocking on a really important door. Let's just be clear and put a stake in the ground. I sell qualified plans. Those are benefits of employers.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who has that plan, and many of the folks like that you work with in their second and third act, those
Mm-hmm.
they start a 401k plan, and so it feels like the waters are a little bit muddy. Make no mistake, they are not muddy until you make them that way.
Right, right,
So
right.
it's still an employee benefit, and the employer is the true customer there. So I spend a lot of my time talking to employers about how they're going to use this plan to make to attract, reward, uh, and uh, to attract and reward employees to come to the plan. How do they make it? How do they do that?
Right.
It's a tool to bring employees in, to reward them, to attract them, to recruit them. That's what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get things twisted and we think, well, okay, I've got this money, I'm going to do XYZ with it. No, you have this employee benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
This employee benefit, your employer's paying a lot of that bill, right? And the reason that your employer can pay that bill is the federal government has said, okay, we're going to allow you to take money out of your employee's paycheck in these specific ways and these specific investments,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to do it in a particular way. And if you don't do it that way, then you're going to have to pay.
Mm.
And it can get ugly, really,
Mm-hmm.
really can. Right? So Case in point, a friend of mine came to me and said, Jevon, why don't you contact every participant in the plan, make sure that they have the right risk tolerance, make sure that you look at all of their finances, and then come up with a solution for their best path forward with regard to investing. That would be dramatically more better. That would be dramatically more insightful than educating people who really just don't know what's going on anyway. And I
Right.
said, there are colleagues of mine who do that. They work at various investment houses. Typically, their minimum is $250,000 in that household. And just
Mhm.
recently, over the last decade or so, they've been allowing you to include your home as a portion of that $250,000. What employer is willing to pay me the money that I need to go out and sit down with that person on an individual basis who has nowhere near $250,000? How much are they going to pay me to do that? And he looked at me and I said, exactly. Right.
Right. Exactly. That's not gonna happen.
Right. We take a look at the power of an investment manager, a financial advisor. It can be great in a person's life, but make no mistake, this is a benefit. Now, your employer has decided, okay, I'm going to put this benefit here. I'm going to call these people up that look and talk like Jevon, and I'm going to say, hey, help my people out. Great. Happy to do it. Really happy to do it. Want to do it. But I got rules that I need to follow. And partially because the money.
Yeah.
I mean,
the money.
The money, right? I mean,
well, because we're in business to make money. I mean,
right? Put your 250K on the block, and we can talk, right? And I'm going to charge you 2-3% plus all kinds of deals, and we are going to run your life.
Right.
Oh, you only make 150K and you don't own a home and you Well, my colleagues are going to say, get your money in your 401K, right?
Right.
And when you get enough of it there and you've paid off your house or you've got a house, you've got some assets, now you can come back and talk to us.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So there's rules and we can help folks navigate them. But let's get some more tools in our toolbox. Let's not just have the hammer. Let's get a crescent wrench, at least a crescent wrench. Let's get at least a crescent wrench.
At least.
A screwdriver. Come on, get one screwdriver at least, right? Let's not make everything look like a nail. But the 401k plan, that is a specific employee benefit by the employer.
Right, exactly. So you have to fall in line with that.
Right?
I agree. So people need to understand that. But no, and again, it's about your life 10, 15, 20 years later, right? And we have no idea what that's going to look like. So making sure that the money that is being put away for that time frame is going to be, significant. And even we talk about this every week, right? Going every year, mid-year, making sure that it's going to be enough based upon what's going on in your world 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, because, every decade, right now, every year is a different year. It is a different scenario, but definitely every decade is a different scenario.
Well said.
According to what's going on in the economy at that time.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So I have beaten that bully pulpit. Hopefully you will forgive me. How about if I read your bio and I give you the last word? Or was that?
Sounds good. That was kind of the last word, just making sure people. And I want to, and I guess, well, yeah, do that, and then we'll do my little last word there.
Ah, the Crystal Mitchell soliloquy. Okay, here we go. Everybody, thank you for your patience today. We have talked about the importance of having real estate in your portfolio. It's a great idea. I am Jevon Thomas, retirement plan advisor, and I'd like to read the bio of my friend and colleague, Crystal Mitchell. She is a business coach and consultant. She's the CEO of Mitchell Business Solutions. She's a co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, co-host of The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, that other weekly radio show. And I don't think they have as much fun as we do. I'm just going to say that. And then she's an instructor at Mount San Antonio Community College, a certified network for teaching entrepreneurship instructor, and a QuickBooks Pro Advisor financial strategist. Hey, Crystal, give us the last word.
So, I think right now, and Jevon has been saying this, this is really a good time with all of the turbulence and chaos that's been going on in the last 2 weeks, and we still got a long time to go. Touch base with your plan advisor, because there's some, there could be some significant things going on at your own company. And you need to be ready to have a plan in the event of, because things are just happening. And so, again, being proactive is much better than being reactionary.
Well said. I could not said it any better myself. And with that, we will see you folks next week on Conversations on the Patio. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great week.